So, all right, guys, we got to get this one right. On three, we're going to say, welcome back to Extraordinary Thoughts for On Their Mind. 1, 2,
3. Welcome back to Mind.
And we back.
That'll work right there.
Yeah.
And we back. And we
Yeah.
back. And we back. And
We
we
did our
back. And
best.
we
Y'all did y'all best. And that's all that
and
matters.
we
What's going on, everybody? It's that ordinary podcast with the extraordinary thoughts that tells you to stop being great and be extraordinary. I'm your host, Demetrius Thickman, also known as Meech Speaks, and welcome back to another episode of Extraordinary Thoughts for the Ordinary Mind. You know, I promise I want to keep this episode. I want to keep this episode short. All right, I want to keep this episode short and clear. I want to keep it concise. I want it to be easy for everyone to understand. You know what? Let me just go ahead and just say this right now, okay? Because I don't know who needs to hear this. But I don't think God created you. You see what I'm saying? Like, I don't think God created you. I don't think your mother carried you for 9 months, right? 9 months, went back and forth on what they were going to name you. I don't think you're supposed to live as someone else. I don't think you're supposed to live pretending to be somebody else. You know what I mean? I don't think that's who you're supposed to be. And what I really want to say is that I don't think God, you see what I'm saying? Like, sat there and created the heavens and earth, put that seed inside your mother's stomach who carried it for 9 months for you to pretend to be somebody that you're not. To live up to an expectation of a person that's not supposed to be you. I don't think that's the case. I really don't. And I went back and forth on this episode. I really went back and forth on whether or not I wanted to do this episode, whether I wanted how I was going to come at this episode. I really wanted to come correct, because a lot of times we spend, let me rephrase that. So many moments are missed because we feel like that moment wasn't made for us because we're so busy trying to pretend to be somebody else. I'll say that again. So many moments are missed because we think that that moment wasn't made for us because we're so busy trying to pretend to be somebody else. And you may think to yourself right now that you've never pretended to be nobody else. I promise you're probably thinking that. Okay? Hell, even I thought it when I first put that idea in my head. But as we go back a little bit, I'll just run it back down to, my upbringing. Born and raised in Detroit, Michigan. Born and raised. And as kids, we lack identity. You see what I'm saying? We haven't discovered who we are just yet. We haven't discovered it. And a lot of times we allow our environment to play a big impact on how we are going to be. We allow our parents to play a big impact in how we're going to be. Our friends to play a big impact on how we're going to be. Our upbringing plays a big impact on how we're going to be. And the thing is that if you lack identity and you haven't discovered who you are, you're going to hide who you are because you don't want to be able to, you don't know if it's right yet. You don't know if it's right yet. And as I was growing up, I would feel remiss as I do this episode to not sit back and say that growing up, I felt like I couldn't be who I was. Couldn't be it. I felt like because of the place that I was in, because of the people that I was around, that the person who I was, you know what I mean? Like the person who I was, it just wouldn't fit in that environment. You see what I'm saying? And it would take me 18 years until I finally felt comfortable enough to start actually being me. I'm talking about I had to join the military. I had to move out of Detroit. I had to go to California. And a lot of people leave home to discover themselves. I feel like I left home and finally found myself. You know what I mean? Like, I feel like a lot of people, they leave home to go on this journey of self-discovery. But in reality, I felt like when I left home, I finally was able to find me. I was no longer feeling like as if I could hide. That's why I always say that California, I feel like it adopted me. Like my soul was in California. My body was just being created in Detroit. Now, don't get me wrong, like because of my upbringing and the things that I had witnessed growing up, it definitely made me into the person that I am right now. But I definitely got an opportunity to live who I was when I finally moved away. And I say that because a lot of times we hide it. We hide because of our environment. We hide because of our family. We hide because of our friends. And when you finally get away from that, you finally get to discover that. And as I talk about identity in this episode, I really want to talk about being in the military in general. A lot of times people forget who they are at the moment when they join the military. I get it. You know, you join, you go through X amount of time in boot camp, you graduate, you got the title, you thinking to yourself like, I need to be the Marine. I need to be whatever. You get to the fleet, you encounter these great Marines, right? You encounter these great Marines or shitbags, depending on what unit you in. I don't know your story. However, you encounter these individuals and we always say to ourselves like, oh, I want to be just like so-and-so. Oh, I need to be just like so-and-so. I strive to be a leader just like so-and-so. I strive to be a man just like so-and-so. I strive to be a human just like so-and-so. But the problem is that you're so busy trying to strive to be like somebody else that you fail to be who you are. And this is the problem. This is the thing that I witnessed right here. You know, this is the thing that I went through, is that we're so busy trying to create the strengths that somebody else has that we neglect the strengths that we have. We're so busy trying to equip ourselves with the same arsenal that somebody else has to navigate through life that we fail to realize that a lot of the tools that we have is made for the life that we were made to go through. And I can't stress this enough that a lot of us right now, we was created for different paths. We was created for a different journey. Only you can do the journey that you supposed to do. Only you can live the life that you supposed to live. That's why it's your life. Only you gonna have them passions. Only you gonna have them dreams. Only you gonna have them hardships. Only you gonna have them difficulties. And the reason why only you are going to have that type of adversity, because only you can get through that type of adversity. But you're not able to get through that type of adversity because you're not being you. You're not being who you are supposed to be. We fail so many times trying to be somebody that we're not. And I get it. You see success. You want to be successful. But the thing is that you can be successful if you just be you. Swear to God. I swear to God. And as I go a little deeper in this episode, and I promise you I'm going to keep it short this time around. I really want to keep it short. As I go a little deeper, I remember when I first started podcasting, right? Give me a second. As I started podcasting, the first thing I wanted to do was hear other podcasts. Never heard a podcast a day in my life. And as I was listening to the podcast, I started to unknowingly pick up their sound, pick up their structure. You see what I'm saying? The way they articulated their words, I felt like I needed to articulate my words in the same manner that they're doing. The way that they delivered their show, I felt like I still needed to deliver my show in that type of manner. Their podcasts are successful. I want to launch a successful podcast. The problem is that I spent so much time not studying how to create a podcast, but studying how to deliver on a podcast, that I ended up muting myself. I ended up blocking the thing that's going to make the people that want to listen to me actually listen to me. You see what I'm saying? Like a lot of people that actually knew me, they heard my earlier episodes and they were like, what the fuck is this? You know, I know you. This isn't how you sound. This isn't how you deliver. This isn't how you articulate. This isn't how you communicate. Who are you trying to be like? And I felt so ashamed. Not because I delivered on a bad episode, but because when I finally introduced everyone to me, I wasn't even being me. And I bring that up because when I finally took those episodes down and launched the podcast, Extraordinary Thoughts for the Ordinary Mind, I did my first episode and I did it me. I did it my way. And it was successful. The episode was a hit. You feel me? Like it was a hit. So I bring that up right there to let people know that if you want to move, your journey that you're supposed to be on is only done by you. It can only be done by you. And the moment that you start trying to sound like somebody else, you try to move like somebody else, you try to act like somebody else, I can assure you one thing. You've already failed. You've already missed the battle. You're already not going to be going in the right direction that you're supposed to be. So with that being said, let's just go ahead and give, a couple of reasons why you should remain yourself. First reason, living as yourself allows you to stay within your values and your beliefs. And I say your values and your beliefs because a lot of times like values and beliefs are things that are developed over time through your upbringing, right? So as you grow and you live as the person that you're supposed to be, your values and beliefs tend to grow and change as you get older. But the problem is that a lot of people value things that they really don't value because the person that they're trying to be, that's the thing that they value. But the thing is that you value something different than the people that you hang out with. You have beliefs that are completely different than the people that you hang out with, than your environment. But you're afraid because you're afraid to state that because you don't want to be exiled. You don't want to be pushed away. You don't want to be looked at different. So the hardest part, to be honest with you, is living as yourself. And when you live as yourself, you have that opportunity to establish your values and your beliefs. Establishing your identity. We as creatures, we as humans, right? We grow, we change. But the thing is that as we grow and we change, our identities tend to change. And the thing is when you live as yourself, you get to find out who you are. The person you ever want to know about, like, what's confidence? You ever heard somebody say like, oh, that person's confidence? How do you get so confident? When you're confident, in order to be confident, you have to live as yourself. 100%. You have to live as yourself in order to be confident. You have to. And I say you have to live as yourself in order to be confident because you cannot fake confidence. You can't. I know people always say fake it till you make it. But the reality is that when you try to fake confidence, you end up getting put into a situation where that fake ass confidence ends up getting broken. It gets broken. It gets bent. It gets dent. And the real you tends to show. And the real you, unfortunately, is not prepared for that situation. So with that being said, we talk about identity, right? If you don't know who you are, right? If you don't know who you are, how the hell are you supposed to be confident in anything that you say or do when you don't even know who's the one that's delivering it? You don't know who's driving the bus. You don't know whose mission you on because you don't even know who you are. So I say right here, living as yourself allows you to establish identity. And when you allow yourself to establish an identity, you allow yourself to be confident on who you are because you know who you are. Now, next, building courage. They always say like it takes courage to be who you are. I agree. However, the reality is that it takes courage to remain who you are. It takes courage to remain who you are. All right. Yes. Does it take courage to be who you are? Absolutely. But it takes real courage to remain who you are during times of adversity, trials and tribulations, stress, times when you just feel like you just not getting it. It takes real courage during times where you feel like you're being pressured, during times where you feel like you're stressed out, during times where you just feel like, God damn, man, like it takes courage to still remain who you are. A lot of times you see somebody and they who they are right now. You believing in them. But as soon as they get punched in the face one time, the strategy changes. As soon as they get punched one time in the face, all of a sudden they're a different person. And I'm talking about physically, mentally, and emotionally. During some form of stress or adversity or pressure, all of a sudden the person who you were is no longer the person that you're going to remain. So I tell you right now, it takes real courage to remain who you are through those type of times. And there's so many times where I say this right here because when you live authentically as yourself, right, You're going to have a tendency to intimidate people who are still faking it, right? And when you intimidate people who are faking who they are, the first thing that they're going to do is try to attack your identity. They're going to try to attack your values. They're going to try to attack your beliefs. And the moment that you start to waver, the moment that you start to shake, the moment that you start to bend, they're going to continue to hit harder until you start to fold. And then next thing you know, you falling in with the crowd. Just because birds as a feather flock together don't mean that you got to flock with them. You ain't no fucking bird. You ain't no fucking bird. A lot of times, and I want somebody to understand this right here. I want somebody to understand this. I would rather be alone as myself than to be surrounded by people and I got to fake who I am. All right? I'll say that again. I'd rather be alone as myself than have to be around a whole bunch of people where I got to fake who I am. I hate lying. I hate having to put up a front just for something to go by. So I will refuse to fake who I am just so I can get through the day. I refuse to. Will it be hard being me? Absolutely. Will it be lonely being me? Absolutely. Are there going to be days where I just feel like, damn, I don't want to go to work. I don't want to go here. I don't want to go there because I already know? Absolutely. However, I'll be happy with myself. I'll be happy with myself to know that I didn't compromise on my values. I'll be happy with myself to know that I ain't compromised on my beliefs. I'll be happy to know that I wasn't a fucking coward and started to fake who I was just so I can fit in. And I say that because the person that has to fake who they are just so they can fit in because they're afraid to be alone is a coward. It's a coward. That's a coward move. You're not comfortable being alone. Let me rephrase that. You're not comfortable with being with yourself. Let me rephrase that. You're not comfortable with showing who you are, so you fake it. I would rather just be alone. Because at least as I'm being alone, at least I'm me. I'm myself. Now, boundaries. And I've seen like I've talked about this in a couple of episodes already, but let's just be frank here real quick. When you establish boundaries, the only way that you can establish boundaries, right, is if you have an honest conversation with yourself. But if you don't live an honest life, and when I mean an honest life, like if you don't live authentically as yourself, you cannot establish healthy boundaries because the boundaries that you're establishing is for a fake persona that you've created. So if you want to live that fake ass persona, then create those fake ass boundaries, but understand that you will never be happy. Now, if you really want to create healthy boundaries where you allow people not to fucking hurt you, or cross that line, then you got to be honest with yourself. And in order for you to be honest with yourself, you got to live an honest life, which means that you got to live authentically as yourself. You have to live unapologetically as yourself. You have to have the courage to be able to be you. Because if you're not you, how are you able to establish boundaries for you when you're not being that person? Lastly, being you allows you to find focus and direction. It allows you to find focus and direction. And what I mean by that is a lot of times you're just not going to be able to fit in with everybody else. I'm going to just be 100% with you. You ain't made for everybody else, and that's okay. And during them times where you're going to feel like you alone, during them times where you feel like you just don't fit in, these are the key moments right here where you can use that moment to find focus, to find direction, to establish your goals, to establish what you love. I tell you right now, I hate to go to a job where everybody hates me and I'm just faking the funk and not focusing on me. You ever heard that saying, focus on you? You got to be able to focus on you. But this is the thing, is that you got to be you to focus on you. The moment that you start pretending to be somebody else is the moment that you stop focusing on you. You're no longer focusing on you. You're focusing on some fake ass persona so that way you can fit in. And because of that, you're going to miss your mark. Because of that, you're going to miss your moment. Because of that, you're going to miss your light. Let me rephrase that. You're going to dim your light. I'm going to tell you right now, there's a lot of people that have extraordinary ideas. There's a lot of people that have gifts, passions, dreams that'll blow your mind. But you will never know it because they're too afraid to show it. They're too afraid to show who they are because they're afraid to be judged. They're afraid to not be liked. They're afraid to just be, pushed off to the side. Imagine if they did. And then close. All right. And as I close with this one right here, I'll say this. You'll never really be successful. Let me rephrase that. You'll never truly be happy with your success if you don't live who you are. Okay. A lot of times we get put in this whole mindset that, you know, if you go here, if you go to college, you get a good job. If you do this, you're going to make enough money. If you do this, I would hate, let me rephrase that because I keep saying I would. You see what I'm saying? I'm going to say this right here. I don't think I would want to live a life where I go to a job that I hate for money that I need, but the whole time I'm not happy. I'm not happy doing it. And let's just break it down real quick. The average American is going to work till they're probably like 60, 64, then they retire. So for X amount of years, you faked who you are. You are unhappy with who you are. That couldn't be a life worth living. But the thing is that when you are who you are, you do the things that you love. You do the job that you love. You follow your passion. You follow your dreams. Because those are the things that you want for yourself. I can't stress this enough. If you truly want something for yourself, you got to be who you are. You got to be you. Stop comparing yourself to somebody else because you do have strengths. You do have strengths. But you focus on your weaknesses because those weaknesses are somebody else's strengths that you admire. But the thing that I want you to understand right now is that your strength is what's going to get you through the day. Your strength is what people really admire. But you will never be able to appreciate that if you stop looking at somebody else's stuff. You will never be able to. So I'll say this as we close out. God made you to be you. God made you to be you. Your strengths are something that he made specifically for you. He ain't give them to nobody else because he know that you the one that can be it. I'll tell you right now, I ain't got a lot of good talents, but the ones I do have, Lord Jesus, they really good. They're really good. And I really tap into those. Do I wish my voice could be deeper? Absolutely. But I know that my voice can carry through the masses and navigate through somebody else's thought process into their heart and help them navigate and push through their dreams and accolades. I know it can. I know it can. I say that for this right here. If you really want to be happy, you have to be yourself. You have to be yourself. And just like that, another extraordinary thought left this ordinary mind. I hope you enjoyed this episode half as much as I enjoyed making it. Stay tuned Mondays and Fridays. Don't forget to follow me on Instagram at Meech Speaks. Once again, that's Meech Speaks. Meech is spelled Meech. Don't forget to share this podcast, subscribe to this podcast, follow this podcast, pass this podcast to somebody because this podcast was dedicated to helping everyone become a better version of themselves. Even though I don't know what that type of version is, I just know that you can be better. Lastly, don't forget to grab your copy of The Extraordinary Thought from the Ordinary Mind, available on Amazon, Barnes & Nobles. I think there's an electrical copy. You know what it is. Stay hungry, stay motivated. I'm out.